Hey everybody, Papa Carl here, doing a little coffee talk and a little garden walk, as you saw in the title. Today I'm drinking Pete's Major Dickinson Dark Blend, and I'm going to do another garden tour like I did in the last video. This time I'm going to go a little bit slower. I'm going to stop at the individual plants and try to identify them as best I can just to show it. Now, I want to make a full disclaimer here. I'm not a professional gardener. I'm not a professional garden layout person or designer. I'm just like you, an average person that reads books, talks to other people, does trial and error, go to the nurseries, read the tags, talk to the people there, watch YouTube, and learn as much as I can. And I've been doing gardening for probably 25 or 30 years at the different homes that we've had. We've been in this house almost 7 years now, so this garden is about 6 years old. When I started in this backyard, it had a great big huge deck. It had 3 trees, one of which was damaged, one that had to be taken out because it was right where the garden shed was going to go, and the big maple here to my left that is still here today. So I basically started from scratch, and I just figured out where my boundaries were. Mainly, I designed the pathway first, and that more or less defined the different areas or rooms, if you will. And I knew in my mind what I wanted to do. I started out with evergreens and foundation plants, and I went from there. Now, the way I see my garden as it turned out, I basically break all the rules, all right? My garden is kind of a mixture of traditional, rustic, cottage, a little bit of Japanese garden maybe. But everybody that comes here loves it, so I must be doing something right. The reason I started this is because I did all this work, and I enjoy it, and my wife enjoys it, my family enjoys it, the friends that come over to see it enjoy it, and that would be perfectly fine. But I thought, this would be a good way to share it with other people. So as it turns out, people are able to look at this on YouTube from all over the world and see my garden, and I think that's pretty cool. The reason why I started this channel is because I thought it would be a good way to get it out so that people wouldn't have to, only the people that came here to my house would be the ones to enjoy it. So just real quick about the channel, that's basically why I started the channel, but here I am. I'm not going to promise the frequency of more videos, but there will be more videos, and I'm sure that I'll be doing more gardening videos as well as other subjects. I have woodworking in the garage shop, and I will be posting videos on that. In fact, I'm videoing my current project, which you'll see in the future, grilling, smoking of meats, cooking, a little bit of travel maybe, probably some music. So there'll be other things as well. You just never know what might show up here. So I hope you enjoy it. I really thank you for viewing. I just thought it would be a good way to share some of the things that I'm interested in with the rest of the world. And I hope you like it as well. Thank you. Okay, let's start here on the deck, and we'll walk out toward the water feature. Just kind of give you an overview. Walk around the side of the house. This is the northeast side of the house, so quite shady. And this is the potting shed that I built. Just built it last year. and I love it. Very handy. This is a clematis Vancouver Daybreak that I just bought yesterday, and I'll show you where that's going to go in just a few minutes. So over here I have some planted hostas, and then these wax leaf begonias that I put in some grass mat planters alongside of this wall that just did really nicely this year. Down here on the rest of the side of the house there's nothing, and next year I'll probably put more plants with some hostas. Going over here to the corner of the deck wall is a goldenrod. I believe it's some sort of a barberry. And then I really can't remember the name of this one. It's a creeping annual with a really beautiful blanket of white flowers when they bloom. And again, I don't remember the name of this particular shrub. I believe it's a pieris, but I'm not positive on that. This is a weeping Norway spruce. Two boxwoods. A planter that is just about done. This particular super tunia was called Latte. It was did really well this year. Very prolific and beautiful. On this arbor here, so about 4 years ago at the base of this arbor I planted American wisteria, 2 American wisteria plants. They stayed about 18 inches tall for 2 years. Then they shot up 1 shoot to the top of the arbor and stayed that way, never did anything else. So I decided to take them out this year and to use clematis instead. So there's one that I just planted about a week ago on that side, and then on this side is where the other one that I just showed you is going to go. Toward the back I've got a Japanese white pine, 2 whistle saguaros, which are actually cypresses. They call them a saguaro. It's kind of a faux saguaro because you can see the limbs kind of grow out like a cactus does. In the middle I got this tall Japanese maple that is right now probably about 9, close to 10 feet tall. When I bought it a few years ago, it was just a spindly little one trunk with this branch coming out over here with barely any leaves going on it, and at the nursery they had it on sale for $99. So I bought it, put it in here, and it's doing fantastic. Right there is a Nandia, Heavenly Bamboo, Black-Eyed Susan, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a couple minutes. Branera back there underneath the trees. Over here I've got a topiary mugo pine. It's been there, about 4 years now. People ask me sometimes, how do you keep them controlled and in the right shape and looking good? And the secret is, in the springtime, you watch for the little candles to grow out of all the limbs, and when they get to their farthest point of growth, just before they start getting green and hard, snap them off. It takes a while, there's quite a few of them, but if you do that, it'll stay the size and shape that you want. Down here I've got 2 garden phlox, actually sorry, three garden phlox. That's a dwarf mugo pine. Another dwarf mugo pine, this I believe is a Jacobson. I think every garden needs to be personalized. Kind of a little touch that you can give it. So these little Tonka trucks are what I do to just give it my personal touch. A little whimsical flair, if you will. A little blue fescue, dianthus, another couple boxwoods. And that about covers it for that corner garden right there. And then over here we've got the water feature with the pond. There are 6 goldfish in there, but they're really shy. When you get close, they generally run and hide. Just waiting a minute to see if any of them come around. All right. So around here we've got some sedum, some ornamental grasses, a boxwood. Over here we've got, that's a blue Atlas cedar, dwarf. Some ground cover, some moss, like Scotch moss, boxwood, and a tall reedgrass in the back. Over on the other side, another blue Atlas and some more of that Scotch moss. Along this walkway, I've filled it in with blue star creeper. Which they say can take light foot traffic. Over on this wall, creeping jenny, petunia, and in the back are impatiens. These impatiens did really well underneath the shade of this Japanese maple that's been here probably about 4 years. I trimmed it up a little bit this year. It actually gets a little crispy on the edge of the leaves. A little too much sun for it here. I water it a lot, but it still seems to get a little crispy. See how it does. I may have to move it. I hope not, but I may have to. This is a mountain juniper. And over on this side is another Jacobson Mugo pine. I really like those Jacobsons. They have a lot of character. They have gnarly little trunks that go out into clumps of needles. And of course my little Easter Island type statue. We love frogs around here. We got a little frog statue, rock cairn, little coleus in a planter. This is another Japanese white pine. Potted plant with some chocolate creeping jenny and geraniums. This is an annual called Angel's Wings. Over here, my children and grandchildren gave me this little metal sign that says Papa's Garden. And then down below that, I planted some succulents. These 3 are salvia. Again, my little Tonka truck display with some annuals that had a blanket of flowers on them at one time, but they're about done now. Boxwood, another blue fescue, grass, bee balm, which has a case of powdery mildew, it looks like. I'm going to chop that off maybe after I get done here. 3 more phlox plants, another one of the, these are a salvia also, more of an annual here. They don't usually survive the winter. I've got one there and a beautiful purple one here. But I plant them every year because the hummingbirds just really love them. This is a mountain hemlock. I want to say at this point that all of the evergreens that I have planted in this backyard are the alpine or mountain variety. So they grow very slow and their mature height is not real big. So even though I've got some evergreens fairly close to the house here, they shouldn't get out of control. And I just really like the way they look. This being Western Washington, they fit in. You've got coneflower. This is dwarf plumbago, which is a ground cover, but it's about, maybe a couple feet long by maybe 1.5 feet wide right now, and it's been there for 4 years or so. Hasn't gotten much bigger than that. Not out of control at all. Very, very controllable. Nice blue flowers. I like blue. I like these little rock cairns. I'm a backpacker and a hiker, and so when you go up sometimes into areas where the trail's not quite so obvious, people will leave these to show you the way to go. So it's just another little personal touch. This shrub back here is a pieris. Another boxwood, another bee balm, another Jacobson Mugo pine. This is called Fragrant Delight Heliotrope. This tree is a ornamental crabapple tree. More ornamental grass. And purple aster, which is obviously in full bloom right now in the fall. In back of that, another Nandia, heavenly bamboo, boxwood, Shasta daisy, and alpine fir. Another one of my statues. All right, let's go back here. Start over on the other side. Got a heather, low, kind of a heather variety. This is a scallywag holly. This is kind of where I grow my blue star creeper so that I can transplant it over to the stepping stones. And a crop of black-eyed Susan, which I have a love-hate relationship with. After I got this garden all planted and established, they say that you should come up with a color scheme, and my decided color scheme didn't really include yellow, but all of this was already here. And if you're familiar with black-eyed Susan, you know that once you plant a few of them, you're going to have a lot of them. So even though I just love them, I'm still on the fence on whether I should take them out and stick with a color scheme or just leave them and enjoy them. I mean, it kind of works. You got some potted petunias and geraniums over here. These are some herbs: rosemary, parsley, a few others. There's 3 dwarf papyrus plants right here. This is Veronica, 3 Veronicas that have bloomed and been deadheaded. A dwarf Mugo pine, a couple of hostas. This is a terracotta planter with a couple of coleuses in it. This is a dwarf burning bush. Underneath this maple tree, I put more wax begonias and a few impatiens. The impatiens didn't do as well over here as they did over on the wall, but the wax begonias did really well. As you can see, they're just prolific under here. They're happy. And a nice coleus in the back, beautiful color. This is a coneflower that's been here a while, and it's not getting enough sun here. I'll move it, see if it does better. But it's been there a few years, so it's possible that it has run its course. There's 3 Bergenias that I just planted this year. I really like Bergenias for shade areas because their foliage is nice. It's big, broad leaf, and they're evergreen. More grasses along the border. I want to say this about my border. I put in the border. I put in a metal border, and then I filled it in with the like a running track type of rock, and then put some small lava rock on top of it. And I really didn't like the harshness of the metal border. It stuck up, so I tried to soften it a bit with the rocks, and I'll probably try to grow some plants over the top of it over time to try and soften it up a little bit and get the rocks out and give it a little bit better, fuller look. Now right here in the corner, this is a manzanita, which I love. I used to keep it, it's been here probably 4 or 5 years, and I always have tried to trim it up and keep it small and shaped almost like a bonsai, but it really took off this year, and I'm having a hard time keeping up with that. This winter I probably will trim it up a little bit more because I just love this. Just look at this gnarly red trunk, and I want to try and highlight that if I can by taking some of the lower area off. Manzanita. It's one of those plants that you just happen to be in the nursery and you see it and you like it, so you bring it home and you say, I'm going to find a place for that. Sometimes that's just the way it goes. Okay, I got a couple of azaleas here underneath the maple tree. Button hook. Those are called button hook. They have also yellow flowers, but they were planted a long time ago, and they seem to like it here, so I just leave them. I got 3 heathers that are blooming right now. Some hostas back here. And then I have the steps going up to the deck with a trellis going up. On this side is a honeysuckle, which was just really nice this year. If you look at it now, at the base of it, and going all the way up, it looks like it's dead. But if you follow it up to the end, you can see that it's got green leaves, and it's still growing quite nicely. Only just a week or 2 ago, it had some blooms on it. Still got one hanging in there. It's a begonia, hanging plant with some begonia on it. So next year, next spring, on all this old wood on the honeysuckle, it'll actually bloom out. You'll get new growth off of that. And the other side is a clematis, and it did really nicely this year. All the way over, it had a ton of blooms on it couple weeks ago. Still got a couple, 3. And this is the type of clematis that will die back down all the way. I cut it down all the way to the ground in late winter, and then it grows all the way back up. All of that growth just this year. Backside view of the deck, and I took the hanging pots down because they were just about done. They were looking kind of sad, so I took them away. This is a live edge table that I actually built myself. Got epoxy river table and some coffee bean coasters that I made out of epoxy. And the little tree was actually carved out with a router and then filled with epoxy. Oh, I wanted to show you this bench over here. I built this bench also myself. So my wife and I were in a garden center here a couple months ago, and they had a bench similar to this, that was made out of concrete though. But I looked at it and I thought, but the concrete was made to look like old brown wood. So I said to myself, I can make one of those. The garden center wanted $500 for that concrete bench. I made this one out of lumber that was given to me, so it actually didn't cost me anything but a little bit of time. But honestly, you could probably make one for under 50 bucks if you bought the wood even. And I made it so that it can be taken apart and stored in the wintertime. All right, toward the back here, we got repurposed wood from my son-in-law's fence project. This is another ornamental crabapple tree. Toward the front here, there's 2 Shasta daisies. Right, that is a Hebe or a Hebe, I'm not sure how they pronounce that. A couple of Jacob's ladders. This is a Korean fir called Icebreaker. Love these. I got a couple more on the side and the front of the house. Another one on my little trucks with a succulent in it. Scotch heather. Another begonia. This is a winter sun, I think that's what it's called. Winter sun mugo. Big. Birdhouse with some driftwood on it that I made. Found this tractor seat at an antique store and I built the base for it, put it out here. Got some lobelia in a pot down there at the bottom of it. This plant is a Joe Pye weed. It's probably about 6 feet tall. Last year, you can cut these off in mid-June, cut them off down to about 18 inches and they get bushier and not quite as tall. This year I staked it up and just let it go just to see how it did. And as you can see, it did well. It's kind of an interesting, different plant. It loves water though. They do require a lot of water. This is a double play spirea. This is a cedar cone. It's not an arborvitae, it's a form of a cedar. That's what they told me anyway at the nursery. That is a weeping Serbian spruce that I'm gonna have to put something off to the side, a trellis or something, because it's starting to grow sideways. It got damaged on the top. That was actually probably before I bought it, because when I bought it, it just grew out that way. So I'll have to support it somehow. Contorted filbert, otherwise known as Uncle Henry's walking stick. This is a spirea magic carpet and a garden phlox. I'm gonna go up here, up the steps, and kind of go through some of the stuff on the hill. This is actually a tiger eye sumac. Really, really beautiful in the fall when it starts turning orange. Planted some pepper plants down there. Got a mugo pine, Norway spruce. This is one of my Chief Joseph ponderosa pines. Of course, they turn a beautiful gold color in the wintertime. This is a lodgepole pine. Up there is a contorted willow. Scotch pine, mugo, another mountain hemlock, Japanese maple, of course, starting to turn a beautiful color. This is a pinyon pine. It's kind of a different pine tree. This is just some deciduous shade trees. This is another lodgepole pine. Another mugo, another Chief Joseph. Another Scotch pine, boxwood. kind of a shot of the shed. Can't remember the name of this potted shrub here. It's been there a few years. I can't remember the name of it. Another Super Tunia. This one just really did nicely this year. Another one of our little frog friends. These are just little miniature Alberta spruces. That's a cone-shaped, some sort of a pine contraption. I don't remember the name of that one. This is a Boyd's willow. Really neat looking tree. Almost bonsai type. They do really well in pots. They don't get very big. They're deciduous. They drop all those leaves through the winter. There's a miniature rose that's not doing as well as it should. Another topiary mugo. Window box on the shed with some, I think these are calibrachoas and coleuses. Coleuses and geraniums down below. We got one of the tube planters with geraniums. Singing frogs. Another vase with a succulent in it. This guy here's got some succulent in the top. That's about it for the backyard. Take you through to the side, the front. This is the last flower bed that I've actually started. I had to redo this whole house when we moved in almost 6 years ago, and this was about the last spot to get worked on, so it's not done yet. I just planted this big leaf hydrangea the other day. I just threw some Cosmo annuals down here this year, just to fill in and make some color. I'm hoping they'll reseed and come back next year. We'll see. And then all of these irises came from my mother's house, so they're kind of special to me. Here we have another icebreaker Korean fir. And here's all the black-eyed Susan that I took, separated the ones in the backyard and put some up here, and they just took off. This is a dappled willow. Phlox, a couple of foundation shrubs. Back there is another hydrangea that I just planted the other day called Wee Bit Grumpy. Coneflowers, hosta, Japanese cedar ball, rhododendron, another nandina, creeping phlox. Back there is a balsam. Hosta, some boxwoods along the walkway next to the driveway. Some more of that spreading perennial that I can't remember the name of. Another thinking frog. Acanthus, Japanese maple, coral bells, Japanese forest grass, boxwood, andenia, Shasta daisy, icebreaker Korean fir. Got these rocks from my daughter and son-in-law's house. They were just laying around over there, and I said, hey, I could use those. So they let me have them. This is a Spirea magic carpet. That's really about it. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.